Sam?
Yep.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm good. Sorry about the delay. My son wasn't feeling good, so I had to go pick him up from school.
Ah,
It happens. But how are you? I hear you're doing great. I hear you're working and all of that stuff. How's that going?
hmm work's been very nice. I like the job I got, and things have been pretty solid.
Hmm. Well, that's great. So you work with kids. Where do you work again?
I work as a play worker in a children's museum over at
Oh,
Rye.
well, that is perfect for you. Sounds like you enjoy it.
I do. I
Hmm.
not only get to look over, but also get to partake in the activities with them.
Yeah. And not only that, you get to make some money.
hmm
I know that's exciting.
Yeah.
Any big plans for your first big payday?
Uh, I don't have a. Let's see. I don't have a whole. Let's say I don't have a whole lot. There's a lot of things that I wanted to take care of for our first payday, but I still need to get it in order on what exactly I want to do first.
Yeah, absolutely. Like saving and all that good stuff too, huh?
hmm
Yeah, absolutely. So you got a job, all that stuff is going good. I just really just wanted to call and just see how you work, because so much stuff has partaken since we have
hmm
spoke last. So I just wanted to because I did the same thing with your dad. I gave your dad a call to check in on him and get an update and see how he was doing, and he said that everything was going fairly well. He also said that because you wanted to be in the Air Force, correct?
Yeah.
Because I remember when we used to talk back in the day, and you would say how being in the Air Force was always a goal of yours.
Yeah.
So how's that going?
Well, things have been rather slow as I kind of expected with when you have a lot of paperwork from Mets to go through. But I do have a consultation date to talk with them over in regards to my medical history on the I think it was the 22nd. It's next Wednesday.
Okay, so with your medical history, so beforehand, you had tried to get recruited by, was it just the Air Force or was it the
The
Marine?
Navy. It was the Navy. It was the
The
Navy
Navy.
I tried to get recruited with.
Okay, so what happened with that, with the Navy?
Okay. With the Navy, there's one. There's something. There were two things in particular that we had figured out after disqualification.
Mhm.
First off, I wasn't able to get the medical paperwork from one of the hospitals I was with when I was with mom at the time before moving on, because I tried to keep the details light as suggested.
Mhm.
And secondly, one of the paperwork that I did submit to trying to cover my medical history from one of the doctors I met while I was with dad had information from my mom that was put it to put it bluntly incorrect.
Okay. So your mom had given inaccurate health information about you?
Yes, and that was the main reason, and that effectively shot my chances at the Navy full stop.
Hmm. So the paperwork that you were trying to get from when you were with your mom at the time, and you were not diagnosed or misdiagnosed, just were told of a diagnosis about you that was inaccurate, and you were trying to get that paperwork so that you
Yeah,
could debunk it, or what?
yeah, to debunk it. I I gotten it. I gotten the paperwork from the hospital and was able to confirm, and both me and my dad were able to confirm that the diagnosis that I gotten that my mom said that I had gotten
Mhm.
was not the one that was diagnosed from the hospital directly.
Okay, so the hospital never directly diagnosed you. It was her.
Yes.
Okay, that makes all the sense in the world. So since you told the hospital or doctor about this diagnosis, they put it down in their paperwork, and it was noted as that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that was the disqualification for the Navy.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I know that you did want to be a part of the Navy.
I did, and plus I was also lined up for something pretty good there, but
Yeah, like the bonuses they give out.
yeah, it was the bonus, plus there was also plus I managed to pass the NAPT to get qualified for some very advanced jobs in the Navy's, which could have paid very handsomely.
Yeah, extremely handsomely from what it sounds, because you're a very intelligent person, and you
Yes.
receive information like no other. So, yeah, that is very unfortunate. I'm so sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, it happened, but not gonna let it get me down.
No, absolutely not. You got to keep on pushing. Absolutely.
So
hopefully it pans out for the Air Force, because I think that you would be an asset for them as well.
Yeah.
100%. Like, you're extremely useful. So with you working and all of that stuff, everything, how was everything going with your dad?
Oh, that's been pretty good. Hasn't slowed down a bit over these days, so he's been looking pretty nice, and I've been looking forward to do my best at work to be able to help out with things and be able to take off a little bit of a burden off him as much as I can, really.
Yeah. Well, one thing about your dad, you've never been a burden to him. Like, he loves you like.
He really does.
Yeah, he does.
He's just looking for me to get into the right space for the age that I'm at, so that I don't struggle so much. In case something does happen, which is the right mindset to be in.
Yeah, and I think that it is too. Is that he's not okay if you're not okay. So
right.
I think that once you're okay, I think he'll feel a lot better. So I think, because, your dad is such a man, so he expects the same thing from you. So if you're not okay, then in his mind, he's not okay. If you're not doing something right, then in his mind, he's not doing something right. So the better you do, the better he'll feel. So, I want the same thing for my son, so I completely get where your dad is coming. So, yeah, I'm so happy that you two reunited and got back together, because that was destined. It was written in the stars, I think, for you two to be back around each other. So I'm really happy about that. Really happy about that. Have you talked to your grandmother, Mama Frances?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I have, actually. It's not that long ago since I talked with her. Sounds like she's doing good, too.
Yeah, I talked to her, too. So, and she told me that she spoke with you, so. Are you like, once you get everything settled and all that stuff, do you plan on visiting her?
Once things get settled, I think if I can, then I'd like to be able to visit at least for a time.
Yeah. What was the headspace she was in when you talked to her? Did she sound good? Like, how did she sound?
She sounded really good. She was happy to hear from me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. I'm so glad you guys got to talk. Have you talked to your Aunt Lachelle at all?
Yes, I've been talking with Aunt Shell.
But that's great. How's she doing?
She's doing good, too.
That's good. So, I have a burning question. Have you spoke to your mother at all?
It's been months to just get it off. I think the thing to say is that I've been wanting to call and talk with my mom, and I know that it's probably right to do so, but in November when I did a bit of introspection to the stuff and the stuff surrounding me and Mom over a while, and there's something that I thought about, that I talked with Aunt Shell over to try and mull over something, because it's been something that's bothered me for a bit. And when she confirmed my suspicion on something, it really put a lot of the things that me and Mom had done over the years into question, and it's made me very uncomfortable to talk to her, knowing something that she had done, and especially considering how much of the stuff she's done was truly and 100% out of kindness.
Yeah. So what is it that makes you uncomfortable that you're unconfirmed?
Okay, so here's here's the full breakdown of something I had the suspicion on that I wasn't able to confirm until November of last year, and this was after this stuff with the Navy. I was in the shower and I was doing a little bit of introspection, thinking back with Mom. There's something that one of my uncles, my Uncle Danny, once told me while I was with him that there's something about me that was a bit off, where where depending on which parent I was with, I would act differently between the two of them. As if I was with my mom, I behaved differently than if I was with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, where exactly did this start? Because this isn't something that wouldn't happen normally. Sure, a child who's in a bit of a divorce situation would want to be with both of their parents, but to develop basically a paradigm shifting mindset to where they behave differently with both parents is definitely abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started thinking, when exactly was one moment that I think this could have possibly started, and I thought back to when I was roughly 8 or 9, and I talked with this with Aunt Shell. There's something that happened when I was roughly 9. When I was roughly 9 years old. This was back in the time when Mom and I were living over in Voorhees, in New Jersey, and we were staying in a big house. I think it was a mansion that was demolished a while ago due to disrepairs. I was in a bit of a big moch pit that was at the that was out the front. I was in a bit of a racing game craze over the time, and with my artistic brain getting a bit developed, I was making a racetrack in the moch for a good while. However, eventually my mom had told me not to go any further in like halfway through the moch pit, because there was an area closer to the front window of the place which had some broken glass which was in the pit, and she didn't want me to get near it. Mm-hmm. And while I did promise her that I wouldn't, I couldn't hold myself back, and I went nearby the broken glass. I didn't get any cuts from it. I was able to steer away from where the broken glass was in that area and keep myself safe, but nonetheless, she took it. I broke her word. And what did she choose to do at that time after she had figured out? Well, she had chosen to whip me on my back with an extension cord.
Oh.
This was something that I had mulled over for a while and had even omitted several years ago, as maybe it's just a regular bit of punishment. After all, while it's harsh to whip a child, it does serve as a form of discipline that steers them in the right direction of sorts. But the thing that always stood off to me was, why an extension cord? Because they can be pretty dangerous if you hit them at the wrong place.
Yeah, you were 8.
Yeah, I was still in the single digits at the time before I was 10. I was talking with Aunt Shell over it on what exactly she makes of it, because for the longest time I was bordering on it sounds a little bit like something that a victim of child abuse would say it's one of the things that would fall under the umbrella, but I didn't want to push it because that would lead to some very dangerous implications, but she agreed. And so, with that considered...
I agree as well.
Yeah. So, I pretty much locked that in my mind, and with that, it made me really look over with everything that very well could have been the inciting incident. As young as I was, seeing something like that as a form of punishment made me not want to face that sort of judgment like that ever again and not get on her bad side. And
So,
from what
so you think that this situation from when you were 8 years old and she told you, because you were building a racetrack, and in
yeah.
the building that racetrack, she told you to stay away from the glass, but like you said, you couldn't help it, and something in you kept telling you to keep going. So you did, and since you defied her, she took an extension cord and beat you across your back with it at 8 years old. So
Yeah.
that was when speaking with your uncle and your uncle Danny and your uncle saying that your relationships and the treatment and your actions when you were with your parents separately, you acted different with both people. So you think that the reason you were so obedient and would listen to your mom and go with her and whatnot is the fear from the trauma that she gave you when you were 8 years old with that extension cord?
I really do believe that's the inciting incident. I mean, in my mind, treating a child in a way like that, which I would say is a light punishment from a 1950s police officer towards a black person,
Yeah.
I think that's enough to not just instill obedience, but to instill fear in a child to never let something like that ever happen, even if they grow older. And from what I hear from my Aunt Shell, this was pretty much accurate, as similar things were happening to my brother, even in times when I was around with him, but I didn't really see him with Mom. I always knew that both of them didn't really get along all that well. When
Mother and Jovani.
yeah, my mom, Jovani. So
was there times where you will witness those things happen to Jovani?
I wasn't able to witness them myself, but from what I hear from my Aunt Shell, there were a couple of times when my mom treated him very harshly. And and right now, I'd say if I was definitely the favored child between me and my brother, but in the lens of how my mom treated the both of us, I could definitely say that I got the brunt of the mental abuse, whereas my brother got the brunt of the physical abuse. From what I heard from my Aunt Shell, there were times when he was younger and as a kid where Mom would treat him pretty harshly. There was a time that she recalled where my mom forced my brother to do push-ups as a form of punishment when he had a broken arm. And when he couldn't continue any further, she tried to force him to continue anyways, even instilling some form of whipping it to continue on as well. But more severely in my eyes, there were two instances: one when he was younger, and one when he was older. When I was with him in Huntington Ridge in DeSoto, when it was me, Mom, the one rare instance in which me, Mom, Jovani, and Mom were together, where in order to force a form of obedience in him, even if he was at that point an adult, Mom had put a knife to my brother's throat.
So you witnessed your mom put a knife to Jovani's throat?
I didn't witness it myself. My mom was, I don't want to say she was clever, but she was lucky enough that I wasn't in the area to see her do that. Because if I had seen it, it would have been one of those memories that I slightly repressed but actively remembered.
Yeah.
I didn't see it myself, but knowing how the tensions were pretty bad, I'm willing to believe it.
Yeah. And so this is the story coming from your family about...
Yeah.
Okay.
And thinking of it now, probably the reason why my brother tried to go on that little house heist before his death was probably because Mom instilled some fear in him once again, because because I thankfully moved away with my dad to Plymouth meeting after things were in a pretty bad state after she was extradited to Chicago. Once she was finally released from jail and she finally came back to see Jovani, Jovani was in a good place from relatively from how he was doing all by himself. But when Mom came back, she basically blamed him for failing to keep me down there to be with her. If there's one thing I could definitely say about my mom is that while in the past I could definitely say that she was motherly from a more objective lens, she's a very vindictive, possessive, and narcissistic person.
Yeah.
She's very caring of the things that she thinks are her own, even going down to her children. If you make any personal slights against her, she will most certainly go at you until you've gotten in her eyes your due judgment.
Yeah.
And she obsesses so much over the few successes that she had in life that she'd be willing to chase down her past even if she become basically a shadow of her former self.
And do you believe that that's what she's become, a shadow of her former self, a person strategically chasing the past because they don't have a present?
Yeah. I mean, I do believe that my mom still has her singing voice to be able to make it into the present, but I feel as if she doesn't really have a vehicle to be able to upgrade that into the present. One thing that my mom has touted of herself is that she hasn't really changed at all. And while I can say that there's some aspects that you wouldn't want a person to change in, to know that they're always as good as they were back then, everything needs to change. Because if nothing changes, then the thing becomes stagnant. It becomes out of date, out of touch. And it makes people really think whether or not if that person in mind was when they lost their way, when they refused to see the way the things are and merely want to believe in their own delusion rather than the truth.
Yeah.
It's become very apparent to me over the years that Mom hasn't really made a whole lot of money in of herself because she's been relying so much on my mom's wealth that it's allowed her to that she's become very reliant on it when she can't build up her own wealth. And now that I'm older and I'm in the mindset of having to deal with taxes, having to deal with payments like utilities and whatnot, it's got me to reflect back on how my mom's been able to get through all of this, and it made me realize that she hasn't had to deal with stuff like that because she's been relying on someone else's wealth in which she doesn't have to deal with taxes.
Absolutely.
So, looking at it now, my mom's been running away from. It feels like she's been running away. She's been constantly running away from the present, or running away from what she sees as the future, a possible future.
Do you think she's afraid to face the present or go into a new future because it's unknown?
Part of me, I don't think it's. I think she's not afraid of a future that is unknown to her. Rather, she's afraid of what she feels is going to happen eventually.
Oh yeah,
part of me thinks part of me thinks that she must be conscious of the things she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
she's not dumb. There is some part of her that is intelligent, but I think she knows of the things that she's done, and she's only chosen to escalate in these things because she can find ways to try and escape it.
Yeah.
But it hurts because you can only run for so long. No person that has ever lived has escaped exhaustion or dehydration from running.
Yeah.
It's only eventually that these things are going to come to light.
Absolutely. You're so smart. So when you were talking about earlier the situation of the things that you would even omit when she would put her hands on you or when she used that extension cord on you, whatnot. When you were in that building, were you staying there, this mansion? It sounds like it was like an abandoned area.
We stayed there for a couple or several months, I believe. I was there. Let's see. It was one of the few times that it was one of the few places that I remember staying in before after mom was evicted from her father's place in New Jersey. He lost it due to being unable to pay for the house. It was one of the places that I actively know, and it was one of the places that I remember staying in because I was in school. I was in the school that I was able to walk and run down to back in, I believe it was first and second grade, I believe. Wait, no. I think, yeah, at the very least I was in second grade at the time because, no. Actually, I think it is. It's been a while, but I think it is. I was staying in that place when I was relatively in second grade because since then, the rest of my schooling was when the both of us were staying in Northern Liberties in Philadelphia, and I was in third, and from there, the rest of my schooling from third to sixth grade started from there.
Were there anyone else living there?
Yes. One of the men he was staying with at the time, Justin, along with his daughter Madeline or Maddie.
And that's the young lady you would hang out with on the weekend?
Yes. At the time, yes.
Okay. So you said that there was like broken glass and all of that stuff. Was it like was the place furnished? Did it have like electricity?
It was furnished. There were just a couple of repairs here and there that needed to be done in order for the place to stay intact. There was a broken glass from the window in the front. There was a bowling alley that was not quite fully up to spec. And there were a couple of other things that I hadn't seen because I was too young and I don't fully remember the place as of now.
Yeah.
But it was something that my mom was able to get due to the connections due to her popularity at the time, and the promise on the engagement was if she was able to make the payments and the repairs needed in order to keep the place in full tact, she was able to keep it. But considering,
did Justin and his daughter stay with you guys, or did y'all stay there with Justin?
Oh, Justin and Maddie stayed with us.
Okay, that makes sense. Was Justin nice to you? Yes,
Justin and Maddie were very nice. I mean, if there's one thing I'm able to say is that if there's with the many men that my mom has stayed with, being the Justin along with his daughter Maddie, Steadroy when the both of us were in Shreveport, Louisiana, and then even to an extent, even Gerald. Each of the men that my mom has been with, but my relations with them have always been very nice.
Mm-hmm.
The only time when problems arise is specifically with my mom.
Correct. That's what it sounds like. Correct. So, speaking of Gerald, did you ever witness any type of abuse or anything like Gerald hurting her, or anything like that?
No, I never saw anything. I never saw any abuse physically. I know I was able to hear whenever they're talking or shouting through the walls, but I always knew that it was something that uh, wasn't too big and was going to die down eventually.
Yeah. So, like, just random verbal
Yeah,
arguments, nothing like I need to call the police or I need to.
verbal arguments, nothing more.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to say that because she said that you have witnessed certain things. I just wanted to, because I never heard you say anything like that. You never said that he hurt her physically, harmed her, or put a weapon to her, or anything like that. So,
Nothing of the sort.
so when she was staying with like people like Steroid and stuff like that, do you remember being like evicted and having to sleep on people's floors and stuff like that, traveling with her?
About that, since I've been living with her, my father was able to keep account of this. I've been through the eviction process through her 4 times.
How does that make you feel? Like to be somewhere and start having a home and then knowing that you have to leave, how does that make you feel?
Oh, I'm able to fully describe to you because my dad was able to level with me on this when I was getting evicted from Legacy of Cedar Hill. At the time, it made me. I was getting very desperate when I was getting very distressed when I saw that notice, the final notice that we have to leave the place now, or else all of our things are going to be forcibly moved outside. I was very distressed when I saw the notice, and then my mom. But I talked to mom about it. She said, "Oh no, it's fine. We're gonna be getting stuff out. Don't worry about it." And it felt like it's just it's just another thing that's happening, and it started to feel slightly normalized, but still distressing nonetheless. Through 4 evictions, it instilled this feeling in me where nothing I'm gonna have is really gonna be long lasting or permanent.
Yeah. And that's a very unfortunate feeling because it can feel like that nothing will ever be permanent, that you'll never be able to call someone
Yeah, a
home.
lot of the things that a lot of the things that I keep or that I've gotten is is not going to last forever, and I'm going to lose it eventually. And with having lost many of my drawings, almost all of the games from my Nintendo Switch, and many of my clothes, it's that feeling has stuck with me. As a matter of fact, a big irony is that a lot of the things that I gotten thanks to being with my that I gotten in life, a lot of the stuff that I've managed to keep throughout the years have been when I've stayed with Dad. My best friends who I've stayed in contact with over the years. My award for academic achievement from my senior year of high school. Still a good majority of the clothes. A lot of the things that I had when I was younger. All of that still with my dad.
Wow.
Meanwhile, a lot of the stuff that I gotten since I was with my mom, all of it's vanished at some point or another.
Yeah. That is so unfortunate. Yeah. Oh, God. So when you were with her, a lot of the things that when she would, kind of force you on live and put the camera like in front of you and stuff like that, the house in Shreveport that never came to fruition, did you act how you acted and stay with her out of fear? Were you like afraid of her?
I didn't show it, but inside I was I was kind of in a checkmate scenario. At the time, I didn't have a lot of confidence and a lot of success in the things that I did. And I was still mulling over how I basically locked myself away from everyone as I was failing through college, thinking that this is something that I had to do alone and shut myself away from everyone else and not getting the help that I needed. And so I as the things was happening with Mom, I know that, oh, this isn't right. I know Dad should be getting in the Word. I know that I should be allowing these things to happen, but if I try to be the middleman like I tried to do with Gerald, part of me feels like she's gonna quiet me over this, and internally I'm just gonna stay silent as I always have over the years, because I've never really had the feeling to really fight back, in a sense, against my mom. That the rebellious spirit to be individualistic around her, it effectively died out after that incident happened. Plus, I kind of have a little bit of knowledge of what might happen to me if I did, thanks to my bro, thanks to Jovani.
Yeah.
Heck, I'd be in a similar case as him.
Voice? Do you think that moment took your voice, like the voice to be able to disagree with her, or maybe not combat, but just,
yes,
have your own opinion?
Have my own opinion? Yes. The only time in which I've even been the most against her or standing on my own opinion on something was the times in which she was in a bad light when she was with Gerald. All the stuff when she was spreading around ashes around, and all that nonsense happening over at the start of last year and in December. I wasn't standing with my mom on that, because no matter what, that was a bad look, and I didn't agree with that even if I was with her. That was basically the most divisive I've been against my mom in any case throughout my life. Every other case, if I've been with her, my voice was effectively internally censored.
Absolutely. So how did that make you feel when she saw that she was, when you saw that she was doing those things with Jovani's ashes?
I never saw the video myself, but inside I felt very disgusted, because those ashes are sacred.
Yeah, very sacred. With her doing those things, do you feel like, and if you, like, looking at everything, like how you said that you were more so of like the favorited child and whatnot, do you think she loved Jovani?
I think there was love for Jovani in a sense, but that was buried very deeply. I am willing to say that throughout Shell, there seems to be a bit of a matriarchal problem with a cycle of bad parenting.
And the bad parenting coming from your grandparents?
Basically, bad parenting from Mom came from my mom. She was a bit younger when she was dealing with Mom and Aunt Shell, and the bad parenting from her came from her mother, and so forth, from where it sprung up. Yeah. But things really did become as bad as they did with my mom.
She recently wanted you, well, the last time you spoke to her months ago, she wanted you to come and visit her. I hear you declined?
Yes. Basically, she said, what, you said that she was asking me to visit?
Correct.
The asking for me came off as more of okay.
Demand?
Yes, as more of a demand. Basically, I'm not sure if it's even the demand, but she basically sprung on to me that there is some some backdoor dealings that was going on with some party or another that no one knows that my mom is caught on to, and whatever's going to happen, it's going to leave my dad in a terrible spot, and I need to move down with her right away. It was as if she was trying to beckon me to her out of some form of fear for the unknown of what this could possibly be, what this unforeseen threat is. And it felt bad. I told her that it was unforeseen to have sprung this on me, and I need to think about it, but saying that I need to think about it was my light way of saying, no, I feel fine where I am right now, and I don't feel like moving right now.
Wow. So she basically called you and with a threat.
Yeah.
Threat, and said like, hey, your dad's basically about to be in all of this trouble and everything's about to be taken from him, so it's better that you just come down here and be with me because the ish is about to hit the fan.
Yes. It was basically let's see. It's not I want to say it's an indirect threat to prey on my very to prey on the fearful instincts of losing something through a terrible situation to force me to move.
Correct. But the thing about it is that I feel that you feel that there was no truth to it, because if you felt it was true, you would have reacted.
Yeah.
You didn't react because you felt that she was just blowing air up you, and you knew it was more so of her doing that just to try to get her way.
Yeah. If anything, it kind of hurt to see her still employing that tactic to do it. It
sounds like you've heard it before, this tactic before.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember when she did that before, but actually I think I know when. It was after the first semester of college, on Christmas break. I called her. I told her things were pretty bad with my grades. I wasn't handling my first semester alone well, and I wasn't reaching out to everyone outside the times that I would log on for church services, but I basically kept things to myself, and I opened up to her about what was going on.
What was her?
She told me that I need to come down. Things are not okay, and I needed to go with her to level with her on it. And when I was denied for Christmas, she told me that I can just come by in summer. For spring break.
When you did talk to her, she offered you to come there, but told you to wait until the summer?
She offered me to come during the window for Christmas break. Okay. I leveled with it with Dad, but things weren't going to work out because there were already some plans that were made, and so I was willing to stay. She then wanted me to come to her spring break, but I would have to stay there for a week, and it was going to be too light of a visit, so then it was ultimately agreed upon in the summer. And it was my choice from there if I wanted to go up with it or not.
Did she encourage you to try to get your grades up or to stay in school, or did she just tell you
she didn't encourage me to keep my grades up.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. She, in a sense, she didn't have to really do anything. I was in a bad spot, and all she needed to do is plant the idea of staying with her, as I did all those summers ago, many, many times. When one bad thing would happen that I'd actively remember while I was staying with Dad at a time, and she basically used that as the main vessel to keep me with her through some form of excuse, whether that be an a restraining order against my dad, which wasn't anything worth of value, or whether that be convincing that being forcibly moved out of a hotel room was basically the same as stuff that was going on with her. I might as well stay with her because I feel safer with her at the time, and for the unforeseeable future, I would stay with her, not stay with her until the summer's up, then move me back with dad and try to work things out. No, I was going to stay with her.
Yeah. So, what gives you this newfound confidence to realize that a lot of the stuff that was going on shouldn't be going on and you don't want to be involved with it anymore? Like, what made you feel like, you know what, I just have to stay away from all of that stuff?
The thing that's made me giving me this confidence was back when I was back when I was going through the Navy process and things were looking up. I passed the I passed the ASVAB very well. I was moving on pretty nicely through the Navy process. I had a promising job ahead of me to be able during the summertime, no less, and going in the fall. And I could have joined nuclear. I had a recommendation for nuclear that I could have gone through, and then at the apex of that, I passed an NEPT in order to join nuke. And I even got someone who was from there who sent me the card to be able to continue with the process if I had.
Yeah. Wow.
All of that gave me the confidence that, yeah, someone as smart as me is able to employ their knowledge in a place that is very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And even when it didn't go through, I knew that there was still some place that I could keep going.
Absolutely.
And it's in times like this where if I didn't have my dad, I'd basically be homeless with nothing to sort of be in a worse state than my mom. That has given me the drive to keep going at it no matter what. Yeah. And right now I got a job because of it, and it is $5 over the minimum wage, but it's a job nonetheless. And that amount of payment can go a long way. I can finally look into getting my driver's license.
Yes.
For once. I can finally get groceries when things are looking low. I can finally start making payments to my loans, and eventually, if I can, even go back into college again. And with the newfound confidence that I have, be able to actually reach out to other people for help if I need it, and be able to pass.
Yes. Do you think that while you were with your mom, the confidence level, like with working and whatnot, did she encourage you to work or discourage?
She didn't encourage me to work. She didn't discourage me, but she didn't encourage me either. She pretty much let me try to take things at my own pace. But at the time, being very lacking in confidence, I wasn't really pursuing any jobs at the time because I didn't know where I could work or where I could get these jobs. Meanwhile, my friends were already getting jobs in retail at the time after high school. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know where exactly to make a start, and I thought maybe I could do something with my art. And she was offering some nice sounding deals that maybe I could benefit off of my art, but we know where that went.
Yeah.
Basically a pipe dream. And of course, the step up from that, which something even I didn't believe in, was the Shreveport mayor thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a whole situation. So with the whole Navy situation not working out, did that make you look at her differently? Did that open your eyes to anything?
That definitely did. If there's one thing that I definitely know in that situation, during the Navy, one thing I did hear from my aunt Shell at the time is that my brother had actually looked into joining the Army when he was younger,
Yeah.
but he wasn't able to join because he was railroaded into juvie from my mom.
So didn't she request at a point in time that he go to juvenile?
Yeah, from what I heard from my aunt Shell, the breakdown of the situation is this: basically, he was caught in the midst of a shoplifting incident, and everyone in her and my aunt Shell, my mom, and my dad were pitching in to attest to his good behavior to try and get him out from doing time. But my mom saw otherwise and forced him to go and effectively requested that he go no matter what. Even when mom had the statement, she basically treated it as if they didn't have a statement. And to me, I think it's a similar status to why it's a similar reason as to why she chose to whip me with an extension cord, using punishing situations to teach me and my brother later on in the future that things have consequences, and to avoid putting ourselves in that situation in the future.
Now, discipline is discipline, but
discipline is discipline, but
that is abuse. That's not discipline. Discipline is swatting your kid on the butt, or making them stand in the corner, or swatting them on their hand, or something like that. When it comes to objects, not old school, I get people using belts, and certain things like that. And you're sent on your way. But
the method she chose did not serve the ends.
Correct. That was to instill. Now, it's a difference between, because I do feel like reprimanding a child or chastising a child is to instill a fear so that they won't do whatever they did again or something like. But you don't want to be petrified of you. When they're petrified of you, that means abuse. Like if you're scared to do wrong or touch something or do something, that means you're being abused.
Yeah. Regardless of how I try to look at it, she abused the both of us.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, for Jovani, it ended up backfiring for her because he had no idea why she would choose to do this, and it ended up going into a hatred against her because she always chose to do these things to him. And he didn't think it was reasonable. He didn't understood why, but I think at a point he became immune. Just kind of like how you became immune to getting evicted and whatnot. It's like it's what you're used to. It's your normal. So I think that's what happened with Jovani. I think he became immune to the punishment, so the punishment will get worse because the tactics that she would try before were starting to fail because he became immune. So she would have to try different tactics. Like you said, she made him do push-ups with a broken arm. With throat. She would, chastise him with objects and weapons and whatnot as well. I believe that got worse because she kept losing a sense of control over him and his behavior. Yeah. Which is very unfortunate. And I do believe that resentment turned into hatred. And because anyone's going to resent a parent when they are chastising them. And you're be upset and whatnot, but you usually get over it. But with Jovani, it kept happening. So it's like it kept happening again and again. Yeah, he never got a chance to get over it because it kept repeating. Yeah, he was being abused. That's what abuse is, and sometimes it can make a kid worse than what they were to start off with. It can make them worse. It can make
their communication skills completely off to where you never truly know what's going on with them because they have so much going on the inside that they have things they're trying to suppress. They have things that they
Absolutely.
don't talking about, but if those things trigger the suppression, then they will avoid. And I think that was a lot of Jovani. I think that's why he wasn't communicating as he should, because he maybe felt like no one heard him. He maybe felt like you did, like his voice was done.
Yeah. One of the only outlets that my brother had was to my Aunt Shell, no less.
Yeah. Sounds like he was very fond of LaShelle.
Yeah, most certainly.
And your grandmother. It sounds like he's very fond of those two women. Wow. Well, I am so proud of you. I stopped. One of the main reasons I stopped combating your mother on YouTube is because I know they watch YouTube. And at the end of the day, it's still your mom. So I know that some things that people say that dislike her, you may agree with, but a lot of it you don't, because it's more so of, people just calling her out of her name and, and stuff like that, and that's never fun. So I stopped doing the majority of what I was doing at that, because now I don't discuss her at all on YouTube. But I just didn't want you to feel some type of way, because I know you and I are fine. Like, we have no issue that my anger isn't towards you at all whatsoever. You are completely innocent in the situation. You've done nothing to no one. But, again, it's still your family. So just like with you, you just sat here and said a lot about your mom, but you're not sitting here disrespecting her, calling her out of her name. You're just stating your experience, because you do love her. And you have everything with your mom. You only get one of them, and you have felt love from her. It may have been a misguided love. It may have been in a way to where it benefited her more than it benefited you, but nonetheless, you still felt love from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what makes these situations tricky, when you hear certain things, because you don't want to judge her. You don't want to do that, because no one's perfect. Everyone has their walk of life, and, grandparents, they had their situations too. They were young, having children and whatnot, and there's no rule book, to being a parent. You kind of just got to wing it and try to do the best that you can. And with that being said, do you think your mom did the best that she could with you?
I want to think that she did very well. I'm not going to lie. A lot of being able to, despite having to move around a whole lot throughout my life and having to go through many experiences, a lot of the kind things that she did for me, I could always feel that there was always some semblance of kindness being done from it, even though I knew that there was some part of it now that I look back and think perhaps it was done further to establish a bit more control. There was always there's always a kindness to it, and I generally do thank her for being my mother, mainly because without her, I feel like I may not have as much of an artistic passion as I do. I have quite the different stance from many people when it comes to speaking on some subjects, and I can get into some level of thought that many others would feel alien towards. But she's not entirely the best, I'd say. Perhaps if I was looking for some aspect of her that I wanted to be better, it's to be able to acknowledge that enough is enough at times. Sometimes some form of restraint.
Do you feel that you just want her to just be done with all this stuff, like enough is enough, like just let it go and move on?
Yes. The bad blood has boiled for far too long, and at this point it has been released into the air in a mist. It is time to, as much as I don't like the movie, I have to use this quote, let the past die. kill it if you have to. We need to move on from what has happened and acknowledge what must be done.
To do that. It's as unfortunate as it is because her past is the only time that she has had success. So she has to keep reliving it because I think it's the happiest time of her life. I think it's the past makes her happy is what I think.
Yes, I agree. Her past, the early to mid 2000s, that had to have been the happiest moment in her life.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that has become a bit of a curse because we know that she's been chasing for it. She's been chasing for those, to feel those times once again when she was at her best. And of course, the only problem is in chasing the past, she's abandoning her present. And the problems with abandoning the present is that she's missing out on any new joys that she could possibly have. Some argue that time may in fact be a flat circle. There are times when that theorem is possibly proven correct. But life doesn't have to be so. We may want to experience the same joys that we felt when we were younger, or something mystical that we saw. But to constantly relive it is to further tarnish the majesty that they once had.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than obsess over the joys that we had, we should rather find it as a reason to make things similar to it, to experience new joys in the present. Because the joy in the present is to build hope for the future.
Absolutely. At this point in time, are you interested in having a relationship with your mother?
Yes, I would really like to have a relationship with my mom. As hard as it is to try and connect with her after all the things that has happened, she is nonetheless my mother. I love her all the same nonetheless.
But because I feel a but.
I guess the but to that is it's hard for a child like me who's been through these situations to try and find how to build that relationship, considering the person who has been behind all the abuse that has gone on, that has changed me for as far as now forever. It's the very mother whom I've loved all of these years. I love her, but that love can never be the same, especially knowing and acknowledging the truth and the chaos of the real world. How exactly do I build that relationship? It's the question.
Well, I don't think at this point in time it's your responsibility. I think when we have situations with our parents and the communication isn't where it's supposed to be, it's not for us to figure out. Because no matter what, it doesn't matter how old you'll get, you will always be the child in the situation when it comes to the parent. And you didn't have her. She had you. You are her responsibility. She is not yours. So therefore, she would have to figure that out because you are not the complicated party. She is. So she needs to figure out how she can put herself in a better space to be a good mother so that she can have a good relationship with you. That's her responsibility. It's not on you. It's your job to just be open. And you're open. You're open to having a relationship. But you want it to be positive. You don't want it to be negative. You don't want a bunch of drama and this person said this and this person's doing this to us and da-da-da. No, you don't want anybody being blamed. You just want a simple relationship. Just be able to call her and be like, "Hey, mom, how you doing?" And the same thing with her calling you, "Hey, son, how you doing?" No drama, nobody being turned against anybody. No, you got to go because all of this stuff's about to happen. You just don't want any of the extra. It's just be my mom, and she has to figure that out. It's not for you to figure out, unfortunately, because if it was up to you, it would be fixed.
Right.
It would be fixed already. So it's nothing that you can do, but wait. That's all you can do, and wait till she gets to a better place in life. Because with her being so narcissistic, this is a duo. A relationship takes two parties. So how can you benefit from a relationship with her if everything is always about her? This isn't about her. It's about you. Because you are the child in this, not a literal child, but the child in this situation. So she's supposed to have the wisdom and be guiding you. It's not your responsibility to do that for her. It's not. So, yeah, that's just something she'll have to come to in her own time. And hopefully she does. And I hope that for you, because you do deserve to have a cordial, positive relationship with your mom, a come and go type of relationship, not you got to be around me in order for us to talk or have. No, it shouldn't be like that. You should just have, just like you talk to your Aunt Lachelle, you guys talk, you have a nice conversation, and then you leave it at that. She goes back to her life, you go back to yours. There's no drama, there's no chaos, there's none of that. Just a simple conversation, and you're moving along. You're owed that. You're owed it. So hopefully one day she does get it together. I'm not going to say that she won't, but I'm not going to, give you false hope and say that she is.
Right.
And I feel the same way, Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you taking my call, Sam. If you are free later on this evening, I would like to call you back and talk about some other stuff. And
certainly.
About you. Talk to you about you. So I would love to give you a call back if that's okay.
Certainly.